Ooh. Live from London, Car-Boyz! We are indeed. Good evening, good morning,
Hello,
good
hello, hello.
afternoon. We are live! Well, we try and be at least. Yeah, we're coming to you once again, returning like a booster vaccine shot. The show is back on track, sort of like a booster vaccine shot. We're not going into lockdown, and we're going to stay true to our audience. And that means keeping on, keeping on. That sounds very 70s and trucking, really. I did say trucking. Although we would like to ask all our viewers to ensure they are double vaxxed before they watch this episode, purely for your own safety. Coming up on the show this week, we've got all the news that's not fit to print in the news. We're going to be delving into your correspondence in the part of the show we like to call the classic car selection. This week, the vehicle is a German hot hatch that isn't a Golf GTI. And it was released when hot hatches were not very fashionable, which is going to keep you guessing. And joining me, as per usual, is Tottenham Hotspurs fan and professional Ainsley Harriott lookalike. Hello, Simon. Hello, sir.
Hello. Sorry, I was doing my best Ainsley Harriott impression there. It's on the side of the box. It's like wild mushroom soup. The question is, though,
He is my favourite former chef from Capital FM Radio. I'll just say that. I'll have burgers and beans, please.
Or red peppers, red tomato and green peppers. That's it. Not green tomatoes, red peppers. But I am available for hire for bar mitzvahs, children parties, entertainment, all in those care homes that have now suddenly opened back up again. We do, as we said, this is Car-Boyz, and we have a great show for you this week. We have a couple of great driving roads and lost highways, not necessarily exotic this week, because one of them is here in Blighty. But we head to the deserts of Africa and then take a U-turn and head back down to the rainy shores of Great Britain. Also have an amazing competition for you this week. As soon as it's show 89, we're going back to the 80s. So we're going to feature is about 80s cars.
Excellent. Of which I've owned a lot of rusty ones.
But we will also be asking the age-old question of caravans. Just simply, why? But anyway, to which no one knows the answer to that, but someone who enjoys taking their chemical toilet for a jaunt around the English countryside, welcome. They are welcome to the show.
Yes, we welcome.
Really, they are welcome. Welcome to the show.
Well, have it. You can have it.
So stay tuned for all of that, and more. And I'm Simon Sujuan, and if there's something strange in your neighbourhood, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. If there's something strange living under your bed, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. I'm afraid of no ghost.
Simon Monsuju on there. I was going to call you the Ray Parker Jr. of the show, but
yes.
You're more like Rex Harrison your way through that.
Yes.
If I could talk to the animals, and just like the good old Ghostbusters, this program contains only male stars, like the good Ghostbusters.
Yes, not the ones where the women are doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not so good. And I'm Richard Green, and this ain't the end. I saw you today and had to turn my heart away. Smile like the sun, kisses for everyone. It's a tale that never fails. You're lying low in the weeds. You're gonna ambush me. But you go down, 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 down on your knees. Now, would you, Barracuda?
There you go. Anne and Nancy Wilson rolled into one there.
Yes, to disprove that women do create some amazing art. That was my version was terrible, but that was Heart and Course Barracuda. I hope we don't have to pay for that. I think
that's why I did
badly. But,
That's why Rex Harrison the lyrics, so we don't get a copyright strike.
Yeah, well done. And that's why I played so badly. Nothing to do with the fact I just play badly. Hey, this is not what I do for a living, guys. I present this show, and it's all about cars. It's not about music. It's about cars. You can email us on the show. There are all the details. Car-Boyz. It's time for my rant. We went a bit sidetracked there. I was getting into playing the guitar. It's time on our show for Richard's rant. It's when I take a sideways view of the world from my own weird, and I would argue warped perspective. Unlike other sections of the podcast,
That's the right answer.
Yeah, that's the right answer. Thank you. Remind me to turn my phone off. Unlike other sections of the podcast, this will be an open debate, not a mass debate. No, it won't be. It'll be a benign dictatorship where I shall rule unchallenged as El Presidente. And Richard's rant is this week sponsored by M25 Cola.
Oh yes,
M25 Cola. It'll have you blocked up for days.
as I found out this week.
And it tastes a bit like somebody insulating a house. This week, people. Now, the question I'm asking this week on my rant is: are people with cash being excluded from motoring? Now, I say this because according to a new survey, cash is still the number one option to pay for your parking amongst motorists. Younger drivers, though, prefer to use contactless and cards. Some 46% of drivers that are paying for parking with their cash. And the cash is their first choice, and it's rising to 56% for drivers over 65 and 62% for people on low-income households, according to a new study by the AA, which is, of course, the Automobile Association. Meanwhile, chip and pin payments come second, with contactless payments made with a card coming in third. Paying via an app and by phone complete the top five. However, drivers aged 18 to 24 are ready to shun the coins in favour of cards and technology, this AA report found. And it goes on to say, the research comes as local authorities across the UK have changed their policies to allow cashless payments during the height of the pandemic to reduce cash, which doesn't really make any sense, but apparently yet to reduce cash. Excuse me, yes, I got a bit lost there. To reduce cash. Anyway, the research comes. Some councils have said also moving to cashless options reduce costs, as it saved on repairs and meant thieves could not steal from the cash in the machine. I will tell you a story in a second about a cash machine in Bristol that I didn't steal from, but it decided to give me money. I'll come back to that. However, while offending cashless payments are popular amongst younger drivers, older drivers, low-income households prefer to manage their budgets with cash. So let's have a top of the pop style countdown for the top 5 ways people pay for their parking. Any moment now. Here we go. Well, in at 5, it's a dog and phone. Well, it's actually a mobile phone for copying up for the cost of parking. Straight in at 4, strictly, it's still the dog and phone, but this time it's all about apps, which will make no sense to anyone over the age of 17. Taking bronze at 3, it's the perfect way to stop you getting COVID. Contactless is the preferred method. Again, for the elderly lady at number 42, she hasn't got a Scooby-Doo. Close but no cigar at number 2 spot, with chip and pin and debit cards taking silver but remaining number 1, and reminding us that the old adage that cash is king, that filthy stuff we love to spend. Money is the number 1 way in which people want to pay for their parking. Now, I was going to say very quickly, there was a relative of mine who was on their last legs in hospital, and I was going to visit them every day. And I was putting money into the machine, but if I went late at night, the machine wouldn't accept my money; it would spit it out.
Yes.
And so I put £3 in, and it spat it out. And I thought, actually, hang on, I put £4 in. Well, I've only got £3 back. So I hit the machine, and another £5 came out. So I thought, well, I know somebody's on their deathbed, but I'm going to make some money here. And I kept hitting the machine, and more cash rolled out, which I put into my pockets. And eventually I could pay for my parking. The machine was too full of cash. Every week I made cash. I made money on these parking machines. I'm not going to say which city it was in, but it was in a hospital car park, and I made cash. I didn't kick it. I just went bang, 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 bang. And a load of cash came out because it was too full of cash. Now, look, I think you'll all know from my wizened visage that I'm not Generation Z or even a millennial. You are. I think you're a millennial.
I'm just in the baby boomers. Yeah.
Not the baby boomers.
No, babies.
Generation X.
X.
Same as
yeah.
me. I like to use listen. I do like to use my phone to pay for parking, contactless on my card on my smartphone since COVID's occurred. It's great. I've used it everywhere. But when I am not downloading a bloody app to my phone so I can pay for parking once on holiday and then having to get rid of the damn app again. What I would say is that paying for parking with cash is it levels the playing field. It means you don't have to have a smartphone or a credit card. All you got to have is some pennies. Helps poor people, helps the elderly, helps people that don't like technology, like my parents. Now, one of the reasons that this story struck a chord with me and caused me to write this rant was an incident that happened to my mother last year in a car park in the Cotswolds at the height of pandemic. Before you ask, Simon, no, she wasn't dogging. That's somewhere else. She was with two friends. It's going down. It sounds awful, doesn't it? She was with two friends in the car park. It was 9:30 at night, and they were trying to pay for parking in a council car park. My mother didn't have a smartphone with her. The lady that she was with only had an old plastic phone. Her husband had an Android smartphone, but he never adds apps to it. Bearing in mind, all three of them are over 70s, but the man in the group is a former computer programmer with IBM. He's very tech savvy. He just doesn't want to install apps that are linked because he knows how you can get round that. He knows it's really easy to get around those apps. And he says, I don't trust this parking company. I'm not going to have that. So try to pay for the parking. The new machines that they've got in there no longer took coins. It was asking them to pay by contactless, which they tried with a card. That wasn't working. Then they phoned the parking company to pay over the telephone to be told that their system was down and they couldn't take payments.
Brilliant.
And the guy, as I said, this guy still he teaches AI and robotics at a college. He's not a dumb guy, but he said, no, I'm not having the app. It's too sketchy. I won't give, I don't know the security of your system, so I'm not willing to hand over the power of my money to you. In the end, the telephone operator just said, look, I'll take your reg, put a note on saying the machine's not working. What I'm saying is how many people are being affected by that move into a cashless society that haven't got the ability to be able to either age, lack of income, haven't got a credit card, maybe you're too young, but you've just got your first car. Here in London, it's been a few years since you could pay for a ticket on a bus with cash. This I would have said is the most equitable and non-partisan way of traveling. And now you've made it the reserve of people that have either access to a smartphone or access to a credit card. Any thoughts?
It's interesting. You said, I wrote this down, it reduces costs, but doesn't reduce the price of my parking.
No, of course not.
So, not sure how that works. So it's just profiteering. But, see, I don't really carry change. I don't really carry money these days. So I can understand it.
Being part of the Mauritian royalty, as you found royal family, Grand Poobah of the islands of Mauritius, then obviously you don't carry it.
But I can understand it. But then sometimes you just want to just put the money in the machine and pay for it because you know you then could put a ticket in the window and everything. And it's just, it is annoying. It is annoying. And sometimes you can't always get a decent enough signal to pay the blooming ticket on the app.
Yeah, I was going to say places like I was this summer in Cornwall.
Yeah.
And you're on the arse end of nowhere, and there's often not much signal down there. One thing I would say is there are quite a few parking apps that are worth having. I'm not going to promote any of them.
Yeah, because they don't give us any money. Yeah.
But just look out for a few of those apps, and they are really, really handy when you're going somewhere and you just I want to pay for some parking, and it also you can park on people's drives with them, which I do love. Pay for your parking in advance. Certainly when going to see concerts, you can park on a driveway right opposite where you're going. If you can get out quickly, you can be out on the road and out there like a shot. And for the football as well, if you're a fan of football. Should we have some car news now?
Let's have some car news, because that's what we do best.
That is what we do best.
And first off, in half-century-old motors set to sell for $250,000 news. It's exceptionally uncommon for a 50-year-old.
Sorry.
We're doing the quiz now.
Getting
We did the
excited.
show upside down. So it's uncommon for a 50-year-old car to have one owner from new, but that's the case with this extremely rare Italian sports car, supercar, that has been in storage for most of its life. The 1971 ISO Grifo.
Oh
ISO
yeah,
Grifo. If
ISO
you move
Grifo.
your hands, it's all fine. Which is one of the one of three ever built. Was custom ordered by its only keeper and originally intended for delivery in Rhodesia by the big South African. Where he had been living. He wasn't really South African. However, having relocated to the UK, the buyer decided to personally collect the vehicle from the factory in Brezzo, just outside of Milano, and drive it home. After using the vehicle for 3 years and covering fewer than 21,000 miles, it was put into dry storage in 1974. Just think of all the great music he missed out from after
Yeah.
1974, and it hasn't moved ever since. The car is now set to undergo under the hammer at Bonham's Greenwood Revival sale. That's Bonham's, not John Bonham's, in Chichester, with a higher estimate for the ultra-exclusive motor set at £250,000.
There is.
Look at that beautiful car, and yellow, lovely. The Grifo was produced between 1965 and 1975 by the Italian maker ISO. The manufacturer had originally made refrigerators before World War II, though post-war switched to making scooters, motorcycles, and then the memorably Isetta bubble car. Which was later taken over by the BMW organisation. The Sun 4-seater Grand Tourer, even though small children would have found the rear seats a little squashy in the back, could
Like your
easily be
Minute.
mistaken for for a Ferrari or Lamborghini of the same generation. Only 90 Grifos were sold with the 7.4-litre unit, and
Jesus.
only 3 in right-hand drive with a bigger block motor. This model also comes with a targa top roof, so it is very, very rare. Oh, it's beautiful. Look how huge that bonnet is for the 7-litre engine.
I
Huge.
think it's a sort of Warren Beatty car, isn't it? I'm going down to the south of France in this to shag Sophia Loren.
It's kind of if
Those.
you
Well, I'm
cross
not.
a Lamborghini. Yeah.
It's a bit old
It's
now.
kind
It's
of
like
if
86.
Ugh. It's kind of if you cross a Lamborghini, Ferrari, a bit of Jensen in there
Yeah.
as well, bit of De Tomaso.
Although apparently the car hasn't been started for a while. This is for people who've got more bloody money than sense, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
It's just, I've got everything else. Because if you had the money, you go and get yourself a Lamborghini Urraco in A1 condition
Mm.
at 65,000,
Yeah.
or one of those.
Exactly.
The Japlan. What was the other one that was that Lambo did in the 70s? I mean,
Miura? The Miura? Was it the Miura?
yeah,
The mid-engine one.
yeah.
But then you can save yourself some money and have some change left over.
Well, exactly. Trying to get parts for this as well. I think they got it wrong in the news, whichever news channel we ripped that off from, because
Okay.
I think Isetta produced the bubble car.
Yeah.
I think it was under license with BMW. I'm not sure. I don't know
Ooh.
whether BMW took them over. I know Isetta did. It was an Isetta bubble. It was the
Yeah.
bubble car.
Yeah.
And some of them had the BMW badge on. But I thought they were.
Yeah.
It was made under
Made under license.
It was basically this sort of It was part like the Marshall Plan, trying to get the economies of Italy and Germany.
Yes. Going back after the war.
Yeah, to make something other than bombs. Meanwhile, and I probably can't say this, in inscrutable Orientals try and sell us another junker news. Chinese. Well, I'm from the Occident and they're from the Orient, so I don't see why there's a problem. Chinese car maker Great Wall Motors confirmed at the Munich Motor Show that it's going to sell its perky all-electric hatchback cars from the Aura brand in the UK. The first to arrive is the cute, so they call it, Aura Cat. It seems to be a cheeky blend of styles that pay homage to everything from Porsches to Minis.
Yeah.
It does look like I've described a Porsche Speedster to somebody over the phone that's never seen a Porsche Speedster, and then they've drawn one. It's got a 63 kilowatt battery. Doesn't mean anything to me. The electric motor is 169 bhp. Acceleration is 0 to 60 allegedly in 8.5. Nice. Claimed range, 250 miles, but expect prices of about 25 to 30,000 pounds when order books open at the end of the year for delivery in mid 2022. Too expensive. It's too bloody expensive. It's a Chinese car. In Japan, they
Yes.
drive Japanese cars. In Germany, they drive German cars. And in China, you know what they drive? They drive Hondas and Mercedes. What
Oh,
does that tell you about Chinese cars?
I'm thinking for an electric vehicle, 8.5 is quite slow, I would have thought.
Yeah, you're right. It is a little bit slow, but who
Uh,
knows what is under here? Who knows?
25,000 to 30,000, you can get a Mini, the electric version of the Mini for 25. So why would you go for the imitation Chinese facsimile?
Really, you can get a Mini for that. That's quite.
Yeah.
So yeah, why would I go for this? And you know, everybody in China is going to want to drive a Mini, not the Aura Cat.
Hmm.
I know Great Wall Motors have got a bit of a reputation for trucks. Apparently, their trucks are quite sturdy. You know, like their pickup trucks.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of them over here in the UK, and you know, like Mahindra did. I've seen a couple of
Yeah.
Mahindra
Yeah.
trucks over there. You know, but Mahindra are never going to be. I just don't see it. I don't see any interest from anybody in this car.
And look at the puny little wheels. They're spindly.
They are a bit 1990s, aren't they? What are they, like 15 inch or 14 inch?
No one has 15-inch wheels anymore, do they?
No, no,
Really?
no,
Wow.
we don't like that one. So, yes, it looks pants. Moving on.
Yes, and continuing the electric theme with you couldn't make it up in electric car news. There's a picture of an electric car now. Charging points for electric cars will be a preset to turn off for 9 hours a day. Amid fears that they could cause blackouts, with the government pushing the
Genius.
switch from diesel and petrol to electric. From May, every new charger will automatically not function at peak times. Hang on a minute, I'll come back to this. To ease the pressure on the national grid, there's also set to be a randomised delay of up to 30 minutes where there's high demand from motorists. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps, as we like to call him, useless Shats, is to be anxious that huge numbers of drivers will plug in their car when they return between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Motoring experts said the measure would be a nudge for drivers to consider charging vehicles off-peak hours. The government is banning sales of petrol and diesel cars from 2030 to help eliminate greenhouse gases and achieve its net zero emissions target by 2050. Under regulations lodged by the World Trade Organization, new chargers in the home and workplace will default not operate between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. Owners will be able to override preset times, taking account of night workers and people have different schedules. Public chargers and rapid chargers on motorways and A roads will be exempt. And these will be the place that charge you 4 times the amount as to charge your electric vehicle. Electric cars have been forecast to create an extra 18 gigawatt demand for power in the UK by 2050, and that is equivalent of 6 Hinkley Point nuclear power stations.
You couldn't you
This is
couldn't make
crap.
this up. This is 9 hours a day that you've paid for the charger to be installed at your home.
Yes.
But for 9 hours a day, you can't use the charger. You can use the charger from 8 a.m. to 11. You cannot use it for 3 hours in the morning, and drive time and into the evening, 4 till 10 p.m. You can't use it. So what do you think is going to happen at 10 p.m.? Everybody is going to walk outside and switch their electric car on. So you're going to have a huge spike at 10:05. Huge spike. Oh, this is it just writes itself. It's a joke. It proves that electric cars are a complete waste of time. They're not practical. We've got no infrastructure to cope with them. Mind you, you can go and spend 4 times the amount on the electric if you go and charge your car on the street.
Yes. So all those people charging up their vehicles before 8 a.m. to make sure that their cars have charge, because if you're driving around, say you're going from London to, I don't know, Cornwall, you would have to basically, I don't know, rely on solar power or something, because that just doesn't work. And all you're just doing is moving the peak times for people to plug in their cars. That's what you're doing.
It will be people going, oh, better get up, bed. I'm going to bed. It's 10 o'clock. Switch, and you just watch everything go brown out.
Yeah.
6 nuclear power stations. 6 if we all drive electric cars. And you think that's gonna? Do you think people are going to warm to that? I don't think so. I think this hasn't been thought about. I think if any of this is implemented, whatever government du jour is going to get its arse kicked out, despite I better plug M25 Cola. Talking of idiot responses.
Yes. Make sure your
20
car is insulated.
M25 Cola.
That's it. So you want your
tastes-
houses insulated,
Yes,
but you're going to stop the roads.
the cars, because they're to blame, even though we're working out the worst
I see.
polluters are houses. And mate, this is all us. It's pissing in the wind compared to the Chinese, which are banging on brown coal-fired power stations every 2 seconds in China. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. That big mound of plastic that's floating in the middle of the ocean in Pacific Ocean. Apparently, something like 80% of it is coming out of China.
That's
Just saying.
M25 Cola. What does it taste like?
Smells like hypocrisy. And it tastes like a complete waste of time. Finally, in line bus stewards news, forced to take a U-turn on speed camera readings news. Britain's busiest speed camera that raked in an estimated 5 million from one speed camera in fines is faulty, police have now revealed. As furious motorists slam the force for keeping up the flawed device, the 30-mile-an-hour speed camera in Membray Kingway, Southampton, caught over 50,000 motorists driving over the limit between 2015 and 2017, triggering more than 320 times a week at its peak. The minimum fine for exceeding 30 miles an hour in the area is £100. It's understood the camera, wow, that's gone up. Has brought in more than 5 million over a 3-year period. Hampshire police have now admitted the speed busting camera has been recording, I'll show you a picture of it, incorrect readings. There it is, the little bastard. I'm surprised somebody hasn't gone back with a
spray.
Well, yeah, spray, or the other good thing is a what's it, is what do you call it? Like a circular saw, and just saw it down. Angle grinder. Angle grind the whole thing off. If you want to, I'm not suggesting it, but you could just park there, make sure your number plate's covered up, and angle grind it. Anyway, police have been admitted the speed camera has been recording incorrect readings for vehicles with a higher flat rear, meaning any number of drivers could now be owed refunds. The force apologised after mistakenly sending out fines for 2 motorists who showed video footage of them clearly being under the speed limit. The rear-facing device, which records motorist speed after they passed it, remains in place on the dual carriageway as those caught by speed busting camera slam the inaccurate readings. Now, this is great. There's a guy called Mark Miller who took to Facebook to explain his fine, and he says, I was driving a 3-wheeled van and the camera said 70 miles an hour. You couldn't do 70 miles an hour in that van if you pushed it off a cliff. I've said it before. I'll say it again. This isn't about breaking the law. It's about revenue raising for both the police and local government. It is nothing about health and safety. We had a case in Richmond about 10 years ago with we've got these mobile guys, horrible guys that went out on mobile cameras.
Speed guns.
No. They were employed by the council. They weren't police, and they drove around in smart cars. And out the top of the smart car came a periscope with a camera on. So take pictures of illegally parked cars. And I got done parking on a double yellow on a Sunday. I thought nobody's gonna be around Sunday night at 10 o'clock. No, I got done. There's a lawyer in Richmond Borough who said, yeah, that's fine. I don't mind paying. Can you just show me where the cameras are calibrated? And they went, what? Can you show me where you've calibrated the cameras? And they went, what? How do you calibrate these cameras? I went, we don't. And so they never refunded any of the cash. They never refunded any of the cash. I'll say that. So there you go. And that is your news, as sad as it is. And I believe it is now time for the band to strike up for the classic car selection.
Ooh.
Jazz, nice. Thank you, boys. Well done. I think I'm very mellow. I think the old the H is kicking in. It's classic car selection. Now, in the late 90s, the late 90s were to small cars what the 1970s were to rock music. Bear with me. This is a weird analogy, but it will work. It all became too bloated and fat. Tiny hatchbacks like the Golf were beginning to look sad, as were the Deep Purples and Led Zeppelin looked to the punk kids in 1979. But there was a shining light in the sky, and it came in the form of this week's classic car selection. It was the VW Lupo GTI. The vehicle has been suggested by Tony, who is a lady.
Oh, hello, Tony.
She, her lady, in Lancaster. And the VW Lupo is our classic car selection this week. Now, if you're new to the show, this is where we take a look at the long-forgotten motor that deserves to be heralded as a first-rate mark, and quite rightly should be. Launched in 1999, the Lupo was designed to fill the gap between the ever fatter Polo and the even fatter Golf. Based on a shortened version of the Polo Ibiza platform, its sister car was the Seat Arosa, which my wife nearly bought one of those. Now, initially, the Lupo was only available in two trims, the entry-level E and more fancy S. But then came the GTI, and the name Lupo was a wind, and it was the Latin word for wolf, which referenced Volkswagen's hometown of Wolfsburg. The one to buy, of course, as we said, is the GTI from 2000. Amazingly, it used a different steel to the other Lupos. It had a 123 horsepower brake horsepower engine, 16 valve, 1.6. Which was a sort of nod to the early days of the Golf GTI. Spot them by their body-colored bumpers, central exhaust pipes, 15-inch Bathurst alloy wheels, and Xeon headlights. In its day, it could go 0 to 16, 7.7. Top speed 120. So what to look out for and how much should I shell out? Well, on the plus side, it's very economical and easy to park. They're old school German. By that I mean they were built properly, and it's got a greater resistance to rust.
Resistance
to rust. We're going down the hello road again. The fallen Madonna with big boobies. Now, what to watch out for? Well, the timing belts don't need changing every 4 years or every 60,000 miles. That's a must. Don't buy an auto, but I don't think they did an auto on the GTI. Watch out for the doors, which can drop the pins can drop in them. Price-wise, 1,500 will get you a car full of issues, but spend up to around 5 and you'll get an almost concourse mint condition car. Now, this one, it's a 2005 model, so it's right at the end. 71 on the clock, full service history, professional respray, lovely black red sports interior, lovely example of the GTI 1.6, and it's 5,500. So why not say das ist good, yeah, to the VW Lupo GTI, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Oh, I've been in one of these Lupos before. This is the one I've got isn't the GTI picture here. Nice. But they were really good. Wheel in each corner, little tiny car. Handles really well. Very good. But I'll have to tell you the rest of the story off the air because we can't. There's kids that maybe watching. Oh, is that good? Yeah.
Nice to do. Get up to all sorts of things inside a Lupo. Fantastic.
It is possible.
It's a car park
I do like
in the Cotswolds. So that was your classic car selection. If you want to get your car onto the classic car selection, email the boys at car-boys@outlook.com. Car-boys@car-boys. That's with all the Zs. Twitter _boys at car. Car-boys at car_boys. And Instagram at car_boys with 3 Zs. You'll have to give me a moment. I need to get my music out for the next section of the show. Here we go. That's right. I think I found it. Yes, I have found some lovely music.
New and improved. Because,
Simon, this sound means... It is, of course... Oh, excuse me. It is, of course... Farting sounds never get old. It is, of course, Pick of the Pups or Turd of the Week.
It is, and it's the part of the show where we find an unloved car on the interweb that's going for peanuts and explain why, even if it's only for a few pounds, it's still a pile of garbage. Could it be a 1997 VW Polo with a stereo system that's worth more than the car?
Maybe.
It could alternatively be a heap of junk that's been used to ferry a feral family of children from school and back. It just smells of dog and Haribo. And Werther's original. Whatever it is, whatever its problem, it will definitely be a right old banger. And this week we say thank you to Alan in Alderminster. I think that's right.
Yes,
who is emailed us into the show to point out the terrible car that he's found online. There is a picture of it now. It is a
Doesn't look too bad.
2 liter. Yeah, but you say that now. 2 liter Mazda MX-5 with 76,000 miles on the clock and a knock-in engine. Alan says it sounds like a right rotter, and he quotes from the advert. The engine is rumbling, and I've been told that it's the bearings. The roof leaks. It's got scratches on the side where a drunk woman kicked the car, and the battery is pretty much on its last legs. I'd like around £800, but I'm open to offers.
But what Alan loves is the honesty of the owner, because he goes on to say, my wife and I love this car. Her nickname is Laura Croft. I don't know whether that's the car or the wife. And maybe she used to date Billy Bob Thornton. Who knows? He goes on to say, we can't justify the expense of getting her fixed. We don't drive her enough. She's not the fastest. I have driven, but that's my best mate's car, which is a Porsche. But she is the most fun I have ever had. In capitals, no question. Yeah, horrible car, reckons Alan, but he loves the honesty of the seller, telling the buyer it's a complete pup of a car with a knackered engine. But despite this, the car has been loved. So thank you, Alan, for your email. And I think we can safely say that this MX-5 at, what is it, £800 is our turd of the week. But I don't think £800...
I'm a little concerned by this.
Why?
Those wheel arches don't look right. Has it been jacked up? So has it got beefed up suspension?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? That gap, especially at the back, it does look incorrect. Well, you're going to need the new engine for a start.
Yes.
You even start looking at this thing. I mean, unless maybe you've got an MX-5 of the same era, and you could buy it and just use this one as a donor car. That's probably the only thing I can think of, because it sounds like a can of worms. But thank you for that, Alan. Thank you for giving us our... Ooh. Yes. There we go. Turd of the week. Pick of the pups. I now have to find some more music, because we are heading off into the distance, and we're going down roads unknown. Of course, time for Lost Highways here on Cardboard.
Ooh.
This is a new part. I've not heard this music before. Oh, there you go. That was it. Oh, we're coming back. We're coming back again. Yes. Go ahead, Simon.
It is, of course. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
That's more regular.
All right.
It is the part of the show which is known as the feature that is Lost Highway, where viewers email us in and give us their favourite roads and the reasons why they love them. It could be a quiet coastal road that leads down to the sea. Alternatively, it could be a straight two-lane blacktop that leads to infinity and invites you to gun the pedal to the metal. Whatever your poison is, let us know your perfect drive roads here on Car-Boyz. Rich gave us all the ideas before we go to the first one. There it is on screen. Just pause now. And in the box, there's like police squad, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, too many Zoom calls. In the unbox this week, it's Natalia from East Ham, which I'm guessing is in East London. She says, "Dear Car-Boyz, you may not this, but my favourite road is the A12." Before you both laugh,
didn't they just used to say, isn't that Cockney rhyming slang? A little bit east, 2 stops past barking.
I don't know. Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, if you're a Cockney, mail us in.
Right in. And so it didn't say you're a little bit east. It's just a little bit east, that girl, is she? Yeah, she's a little bit east Ham. What does that mean? Well, 2 stops past barking. I don't know.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Before you both laughed, we did laugh. The current road can be traced back to 1922, but its origins can be found in the Roman times. It starts off from northeast London, just above the Blackwall Tunnel, if I'm not mistaken, and travels all the way to Lowestoft, and that's around 130 miles through London, Essex, Suffolk, and Norfolk, and will take you around 3 hours to travel. Motoring geeks, especially Ford enthusiasts, may know that the road travels through Brentwood in Essex.
Yes.
And the area is famous for the old Boreham Airfield, which was bought by the Ford Motor Company and used as a base for testing and developing many of their trucks and racing and rally cars like the Sierra Cosworth. So that's what they did there.
I lived in East London. I lived in South East London, so I assume I've been on this road at some point.
Probably. It is quite a nice road.
It's quite a nice little drive. Yeah. Thank you for that.
130 miles.
Yeah. It's driving in Britain though, isn't it? So especially when people decide to block off the road.
Take us somewhere else.
Yes, I will. I will take it. I'll take us to somewhere slightly more romantic and dangerous. Finally, Sandero. Not Santandero, Sandero Steve emails to say, he used to be called Midland Bank Steve, but he's now Santandero Steve. Sandero Steve emails in to, Dear Car-Boyz, I don't think you featured the Trans-Sahara Highway. I don't think we have on the show yet. No, I don't think we have. It's been described as the most brutal road in the world. Maybe that's why. There it is. It doesn't look that inviting. So I just go,
tumbleweed.
85% of the road is now paved. There are still several miles of this desert road, a little more than tracks in the sand, running for a mammoth 4,500 kilometers through 3 countries. It's a test of mettle. Oh, you spelt that right. And guts that attracts the brave, the foolhardy, and the crazy. It travels through, these sound really safe countries. Algeria, Niger, and Nigeria. And then he said something else then. Although the obvious reason, there's another G. It's an obvious reason plagued by security risks along some sections. The bigger danger is going head to head with one of the world's most intensely harsh environments. Daytime temperatures are a scorching, and fuel and water in scarce supply along much of the route. It isn't a trip to be undertaken lightly. You're going to need a 4x4, extensive desert driving experience, mechanical experience. You must be self-sufficient in supplies and equipment. This doesn't sound fun. I want to go back on the A12. You'll also have to jump through 7 bureaucratic hoops in order to get paperwork and visas necessary. Which one would you prefer to go on holiday to? For this kind of expedition. I mean, you don't get the Tuareg trying to hijack you and force you into bondage, do you, on the A12?
Some parts of Essex, you can.
Yeah, actually. Slavery still does exist in some parts of Essex. God, flipping heck, mate. I think poor old Santandero, what's his name? Steve.
Santandero Steve.
Sounds like he's a nutcase. I don't know about the road. I know about the railway that the French tried to create from Morocco all the way to Egypt. That's still there in part. And I think back in the 1930s, you could get on, I think you could catch the railway in maybe Marrakesh, and it would take you all the way along.
What, the Marrakesh Express?
It would be the Marrakesh Express, all aboard
the train.
With chickens.
Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Yes, and Young. Pigs and chickens too.
That was their support act.
Well, that was the joke about the song, because none of them have been to Morocco. And Morocco is a Muslim country, and part of the lyrics go, down in the market square, there are pigs and chickens too. Well, no, there's no pigs in North Africa because they're Muslim. So they hadn't done their research very well. That's all I'm going to say. You're late. Too much smoking the old jazz cigarettes and dropping the old acid, and not enough research in your song. And I still do like Marrakesh Express.
Yeah.
Blowing smoke rings in the air, but so that was the railway that ran a lot across the top.
Okay.
And so this is the metallized road, or partly metallized road. I think I might give that one right now. I'd be happy with the A12. A12 or your local road rather than going. I think with COVID and everything else, you'd be a nut job to get onto that. So thank you very much. Keep those coming in. It's time for some more music as we, of course, delve deeply into the mailbag. I believe it's, as usual, it's overflowing. If I can find it in here somewhere. I think it's my dulcet tones in, the letterbox.
I had a silly thought this week.
Don't have one of those.
No, it was we should release a Christmas single or something.
Ooh, we could do, couldn't we? See if we could get it on
and see how viral it goes. Yes.
Really bad. The best of. We need a best of album.
We'll do
best
that.
Of the Car-Boyz. I'd be happy just to release just have a Car-Boyz album where we just put a load of things like Deep Purple, Fireball
Oh,
and
yes, that would be good.
AC/DC for those about to rock, and we could just have like the best. It's the best driving. I could do the advert going. It's the best driving album in the world.
Yes, and just
Available
like
on Cathay Records.
I was going to say, just like Brian May's last album, which he re-released, you can get it on cassette as well for all those that still have cassette players in their cars. So first,
Best driving album in the world, and we release it on vinyl. Hang on, Dad, hang on.
Stefan in Warminster says, "Hey, Cowboys.
Hey.
Hope you're all well. As you can tell, Stefan originally hails from Sweden."
Oh yes.
And he says he's been working in England for 20 years. He's just started another job and is working remotely.
Excellent.
He says he therefore lost the use of his company car from his last position, and he needs to buy a decent little runaround. For years, he's been driving a German vehicles. Mercedes and BMWs, and he fancies going native and getting himself a Volvo S40. Nice. His neighbour has one for sale for £2,100. It's a 2011 car, 78,000 miles on the clock in black leather interior, full service history. It has 1.6 litre turbo diesel and is a manual. What do you think of it, boys? Is it sheep's clothing or a decent car? I like these. These were based on the Mark II Focus.
My brother-in-law had one, and he ran it, and then something catastrophic happened to it. Something blew up, but he did get, I think, it was about 150,000, and he loved it.
Nice.
He said it was easy to drive, auto. It ain't fast. 0 to 60 is 11 seconds in these, but it's solid, and it's better build quality than the Focus.
Yeah.
They do share the same platform. But my neighbour around the corner had one, and it's not worth more than 1,500. But the quality of these cars, it looks more expensive than it is. The interior is really nice. It has a very weird feature on the dash.
Console?
Yeah, which you can sort of put your hands behind. Yeah, floating console. I also love the rear. You can't really see it on there. If I can get it, the rear is sort of molded on the boot.
Yes,
and it's sort of this really cool
little ridge.
They hold out well against rust. The build quality is quite good. I mean, really, £2,000.
Yeah,
that's
and
nothing,
it's quite unusual. And if we rock up in a Volvo, it's like, ooh, nice.
Yes, I was going to say that you are not going to be judged in this car. People are not going to know how much money you have or you don't have in this car. A black leather interior. Did he say it's a diesel? Yeah, it's the manual.
Yes, turbo diesel. Yeah.
Yeah, just enjoy it. 1.6. Have it for a few years. I think that's a good idea. We move to the Midlands area with Alexander in Hales Owen. All right there. He says, "Hello, Car-Boyz. Can I have a cup of soup?" No, he says, "I've got a
some Bovril."
Some Bovril. Where's Dave? Has he got a shite haircut as well? Come on, Dave, get in here. I have. Alexander.
Just offended all our
That's okay. I'm from the Midlands. I'm allowed to do it. It is a rite of passage, though I've lost my Midlands accent, sort of. And I take the piss out of my fellow Midlanders. I have a Skoda, says Alexander. A 2004 Skoda Fabia. Great car, reliable. Last year or so. If I don't run the car fully, by that he means drive around the neighbourhood a bit. When I come to restart it, he says, if I restart it on my driveway, reposition it, it won't start. And I have to leave it. It's happened twice every month. It's happening. What's the issue? So we had a look online. It's an older car for a start. So I imagine you need to regularly burn down the motorway to clean all the crap out that's built up in the car, in the engine. A mate of mine used to work for Subaru, and elderly people in the countryside where he worked would buy the Outback or the Forester, and they'd never really smash it. They'd never take it up down the motorway. So they'd say, "Oh, it's not performing very well." So he'd go, "Okay, leave it with me." And he'd just take it up and down the bypass, give it the beans, clean out the carbon buildup. I imagine it's the throttle body, and the ECU will need resetting on this.
Yeah. My dad used to have a 1.8 Ford Orion, and it used to flood. So you just drive it for a bit, and then the car would then just flood itself with petrol. So you need to really give it a bit of welly down some of the legally, obviously, down some of the A roads and things like that. And I think 2004, so that would have been just when VW took over.
Yes,
I'm thinking.
I
I'm
imagine
guessing.
that you'll. I think it is basically it's a Polo. It's a 1.4 Polo.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you do, if you were going to reposition it on the driveway, just give it some. I've got my Honda's only what 6, 7 years old, and it happens to me my 2.4 liter Honda. If I
Mm.
move it down the road and
Yes.
don't give it the beans, when I restart the Honda, especially in the cold, it doesn't want to catch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always done
It's
that. It's done that since I've had the car. I had the car for 2, 3 years old when I had it. So yeah.
so mine, and this is a thing with direct injection engines. What it does also is it clogs up the valves if you don't take it on a decent enough run.
Right.
And sometimes you can always tell that it happens when if you open up the petrol cap, you get the milky
Yes.
water with oil looking thing in it, and it isn't a gasket that's gone or anything like that. It's literally the condensation hasn't gone out through the escape valve.
Most cars, and it's certainly petrol cars, need to be driven. And when they're not
Yeah.
driven and they sit on a driveway, they get very upset. My old Escort back in the day, if I didn't drive it, and I used to commute into central London on the train, and if I'd Saturday morning, I know I need to use the car, I'd have to really smash it quite hard on Friday night, get it going. Then I used to leave a blanket on the engine overnight. Because if it didn't have that, moisture would get to it and the damn thing would not turn over. I really need it to. Yeah, it was a pile
And
of
there's a
crap.
bit of love for your car, giving it a little blanket to make sure it was all right.
I'd also have to write a note, stick a note on the dashboard that said, remember, dickhead, you've got a blanket under your car. So
Yeah.
you start driving down the road with flames coming out from beneath the bonnet.
Before we move on, just a
yes.
quick question: have you filled up with E10 petrol yet, or are you still using? I use.
I did
Super?
put some. No, I've switched to super. I have
Good.
not put any weasel piss in yet. I did it. I was on. I forgot. I drove down to the sunny shores of Kent last weekend,
Yes.
and I forgot to put
Yes.
petrol in, so I got absolutely stung on the M25 Cobham services.
Yeah.
And that's just whatever. I just get some petrol. I'm going on holiday. And I put the expensive stuff in, and
Yeah.
I'm going to run it on the expensive stuff. I don't care because from what I'm hearing, the loss of
Yes.
power is the loss of power plus the poor mileage.
Yeah.
It's not recompense with what they're offering us. So they, I might as well spend the extra, get more out of my mileage, more out of the petrol in the car, as opposed to
Weasel piss.
And we also don't know what it's doing to cars.
It's
I've got a
killing off the
Japanese car.
rubbers and
It's
gaskets.
I don't, So there we go. Where are we going next?
Daisy Jukes from Hazard Duke. Daisy Duke from Hazard County. See what she's done there. Howdy, she says. Howdy, Car-Boyz. I wonder if it's Jessica Simpson. And let's take a moment to think of Jessica Simpson.
Hang on.
Dressed up as Daisy Dukes.
Because in fact those shorts have now been called Daisy Dukes, haven't they?
Yeah.
Short shorts that her ass looked like they were eating.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, you may be thinking of Catherine Back. I don't know.
Well, yes, I would have been at the age of sort of 8 years old. Definitely Catherine Back. I've seen her recently. She looks like she looks she looks like she looks like Beauty and the Beast played by Ron Perlman.
Well, Daisy Dukes from Hazard County says she drives a nice 2001 Golf convertible auto with a 2-litre engine. Only uses it at weekends. She fancies buying a new Mazda MX-5. Hey, we got one for sale. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. An MX-5 she wants, but can't decide whether or not to sell.
No.
What's her VW worth? It hasn't given her many problems. She does love to drive the car. I'm not a fan of the VW. Well, I'm not really a fan of Golf full stop, but
there's a weird thing with these, because if you go for the early models, so back in the 90s, it's like this, the Cabriolet, as we'd call it from the Ford world, or the convertible from the VW world, they're $5,000. Now, if you go for a newer one, say 2011, they're $5,000. These, which are 20 years old, are only $3,000. So it's a classic that hasn't quite appreciated yet. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. But if I was going to pay $3,000 or get an older one like a 94 for 5, I'd go for this. I think it's an appreciating classic. If she likes it, keep it. I think it's a pretty non-offensive car. I like the look of it. It's all right. I'm not a golf guy. I never have been.
Yeah.
Not a fan of VW. I think they're overpriced. But if you like
Would you
it,
like a geeky fact
go on.
to show you that this is a proper motoring program? Do you know what
Yes.
the difference between a cabriolet and a convertible is?
No, I don't.
A convertible has a cabriolet has a roll bar of it. So your XR3i, they had a cabriolet version which had a roll bar in the
Yes, it
middle,
did have the roll bar that didn't go down.
whereas a convertible doesn't have a roll bar.
Ah, okay. There you go. I learned something new every day.
Proper motoring tips.
But
on
what
this
about
show.
a roll bar that shoots up in the event of an accident? Would that make it convertible or cabriolet?
No, but it sounds fun.
Let's see if this works. Do you know what, Daisy? I would keep it. I would keep it. If you're only using this at the weekend, you know the car, you like the car,
Does
just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. And don't buy that MX-5 that was on the show. Finally, and this is the one I've been waiting to, the Andy in Albany. Yeah, don't buy that dog. Finding out.
Hello, Andy.
Andy He's not Andy. He's Andy in Albany, New York State. He drives a Toyota Camry. He has bought it 6 years ago from a colleague. So it's a 2003 car, massive engine, drives like a dream. It's an auto. It's got beige interior cloth and it's burgundy. He says, I'm only 32 and I feel like 107 when I drive this car. Now, recently, he's been walking past his dealership near his workplace. And for the past week, they have got this car. This is brilliant. It's a 2014 Dodge Charger V8 in white, ex-police interceptor car with a 6-litre engine. It's an auto, but it looks like it could be fast. $7,500. What do you guys think?
The only thing that puts me off is because it's an ex-police car. Have they thrashed the living daylights out?
Well, we did some research on this. Go and drive it.
Yes.
If you were buy one of these 2014 in that's not been a police car, they're about 14,000. So there's a reason this is half price.
Okay. Yeah.
The mileage is probably going to be high. Hopefully, it's going to be lots of highway miles and not city, but who knows? The engine's very strong, and police cars do get service to the max. Bear in mind, you're probably going to have to shell out a couple of thousand on fixing this because it's gonna have hit curbs. The nuts are going to be revved off it. But you know what? Life sometimes is about taking risks, and you may come to credit, and you may go back to driving an old man Camry. But if you budget, if you can get him down on the price to maybe 6.5, budget £2,000 for because really, what's going to be wrong with this car? It's going to be covered in dents underneath. It's going to have done a high mileage. I mean, the other thing is it could have just idled. I mean, you might need to get a real proper overhaul on the engine.
It could have spent most of the time outside a donut shop or something like that.
With 2 fat coppers in it. But imagine having this. Everybody's going to think you're a copper in the neighbourhood.
With the bull bars as well.
The bull bars are fantastic.
I would put some stripes on that as well, or something like stars, or maybe the expression on the bumper: "Protect and serve."
Could you just do that, and maybe a star on each door? Because is there anything illegal about that? I don't know. Huh? I think if you put blue lights in it, that would be illegal. Also, it's going to have all the old bits of police kit in about. Do you know what? Why not? I think it's a risk. I think it is a risk I would take because that is half the price.
Yeah.
So they know nobody wants this.
Yeah.
COVID's around. It's going to need a deep clean. I'd get a professional valeter in it. I would take somebody with me to look at it. I would drive it, and if everything ticks the box, even with the highest mileage. Even if it's had the nuts revved off it, it's only a 6-7-year-old car.
Keep it for a couple of years, and then
enjoy it.
Want to trade up.
Go, what have I done? Yeah, and then just get rid. But yes, if you would like to get your question on to the Car-Boyz mailbag, email the Car-Boyz at car-boys@outlook.com, Facebook car-boys at car-boys with 4 Z's, Twitter the car-boys at car_boysels with a Z, Instagramming us at car underscore boys with the tree Zs. I believe it's competition time now on the show.
Thank you. It is quiz time, and since this is the last show of the 80s, show number 89, lots of people say that if you remember the 80s or the 60s, you were never there. But there was some.
I was just a child for most of it. That's why I remember it. That's why I didn't have any fun with drugs or anything like that, because I was a child.
This makes sense. There were some truly horrible cars produced then, yes. But we on Car-Boyz are reveling in those times, and we'll be testing our lucky contestant this week on their knowledge of 80s cars. Is the right answer in Britain.
Yes.
And that contestant today is Richard from South West London.
Hello!
Now, Richard, do you remember the 80s?
Yeah, I hated them. I hated the 80s. I hated the music. Hated the fashion. My daughter just keeps telling me about how cool the 80s were. I went, no, I was there. The fashion was awful. The music was actually, the music was very much like what I was just playing. This is 80s music. Which was really boring. There were no rock guitars. There were everything was quite grey. Nobody had any money. I certainly didn't have any money. I remember working for about £1.50 an hour at a supermarket. Yes, I hated the 80s.
I was in single digits when I was in the 80s.
Yeah, I wasn't quite. But yeah.
This week you're playing for. I did have a picture for this, and I don't know where it's gone, but there is one on the Facebook group.
Okay.
The prize this week is the Peugeot Salt and Pepper Meals, which I was going to steal for you. Yes. I did. I went out to lunch at the weekend with my niece and nephew, and I said to my nephew, "Guess who makes these pepper meals?" And he didn't get it right. He thought it was like a Skoda or something.
It is a bit of a jump. I mean, I only realised when I went into a Michelin-star restaurant a few years ago and went,
"Ooh,
Peugeot, really?"
It breaks down halfway through your meal.
Yes, exactly.
So we are going to be testing your knowledge. So eyes down, look in. Question number 1. Produced by Austin Rover. What is the name of this pile of shit?
Hang on. Oh, it's the Austin Maestro.
It is right answer. There you go. I actually did see one of these in the same colour in Dunoon in Scotland last year, and it's still surviving.
Did it have a beige velour interior?
It was velour.
Beige velour interior.
Yeah, I think that has got a beige.
And a beige dash as well with wood trim.
Yeah.
My mate's mum had the GT. Not the GTI. What did they call it? The MG. And I'm feeling it didn't have a speedometer. I think the speedometer was horizontal.
Oh.
There was something like that. It was something weird. No, it was digital.
No, that in a Vauxhall Viva.
It's a digital.
Okay.
It was something trying to be futuristic. And even in the 80s, when I remember having it, I remember looking at this car going, what a pile of crap. A relative of mine worked for Rover. And I remember him shutting the door once on a similar car, the Montego, and he left a dent in the door, which he now had to take the interior panel and tap out.
And to show you that this is the 80s, I don't know whether you can see there, in the 80s there was a trend where they didn't have a passenger mirror on there.
What? Yes, I do remember that as well.
Yeah.
Great fun for parking and not, mind you, they didn't have very good wheels, so it didn't matter if you scraped your...
there's basic steel wheels there.
Steel
wheels. So 1 out of 1, well done. Question number 2, still in the Solihull car industry. What is the name of this Pininfarina style car? Let's have the music.
Oh!
Got a body kit on that.
SD!
It is, yes, the SD1.
I always think of Roller. Was it Rolly, the giant poodle from EastEnders?
Anita Dobson's dog.
Anita Dobson's dog, because her husband drove, I think, did he drive a yellow one? No, Brian May. Brian May drove a yellow Rover SD1. Come on, Brian, you can do better than that. Why are you driving that?
This is the man that wrote "We Will Rock You." You wouldn't be driving around in a Rover SD1.
Rover SD1. And of course, Rover SD1s had the beautiful. I don't even know if they sold any abroad, but you could move the whole dashboard from one side to the other because they were hoping for foreign sales. Where I don't know.
No,
Australia maybe.
No, not at all. There you go. 2 out of 2. Well done. Question number 3. Built to replace the Cortina. What is the name of this vehicle?
Hang on, let me get my music ready to go. Let's have a look. Oh, it's the it's everybody's favourite jelly mould. It's the Ford Sierra.
It is. This is actually a very rare picture. It's a 3-door Sierra, which they rarely made. So absolutely right.
Yes, you're right. They did very few of those. But there was a guy round the corner from me that had one in that beige colour up until a few years ago, and he had a Did
he put a wild tail on it?
No, he had a parts car on the driveway. That he used to rip off parts and put it on there because occasionally you'd say, "Oh, he's why is that door blue?" Yes, it was like that.
Well done. So that's 80 style in there. You go. There. Ford Sierra, 3 out of 3. Slightly harder now. We move over to Gaydon. What is this vehicle?
Gaydon.
Yep.
Okay.
Built in Gaydon.
It's what was Gaydon? So that's Aston Martin.
It is. Yes. Do you know which vehicle?
No. So it's the 80s. Right, that's a bit better. Oh, I should know this. No, I don't. Go on. Surprise me.
I'll give you half a point for that. It's the V8 Zagato.
Oh, yes.
Zagato model.
I thought the Zagato was an Alfa Romeo.
I think maybe it means something. If you're Italian, let us know. But yeah, it's the Aston V8 Zagato. Look at the power bulge on the top of that. I
do love the windows as well. It's not gull wing doors? Why do the windows do that? Why do they bend? I want the only. It
was made in Gaydon. They thought it was exotic.
Doesn't make any sense.
And these also look like Sierra lights.
They are. Ford parts bin. No. Now the Zagato.
Yes.
I'm off the top of my head. I obviously know this. Is an independent coach building company located in Milan.
So by the way, Rich is wearing glasses, and you can see the reflection of his
iPhone. Yeah. I didn't know that off the top of my head at all. There you go. Zagato. Okay, cool.
3.5 out of 4. Cool. Question number 5. This was designed to replace the Mini. What is it?
Let me take a look. Lynn! It's a rebadged Metro, you fool!
It is the Metro. Notice also that the suspension seems to have collapsed on that side.
Because it's a Metro.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell the story about how my mate's mum's car went 1, 2, 3, E.
Econo.
1, 2, 3, E. I said, what's E? He went, economy. It was greed. The C-Reg Metro. Lynn, you fool. I'm not bloody driving that.
Awful cars. But my sister had one. My eldest sister had one. That was her first car.
My cousin had the MG Metro. She bought it. She drove for a year. Came to MOT it, and they just wrote it off. Said this car is dangerous. It shouldn't be on the road because it's so rusty.
They did rust. They really did rust. So well done. 4.5 out of 5 so far. Well done. Well on the way to getting the salt and pepper grinder. Number 6. This car was known for having the Quartic steering wheel. I think that's right, how you say it. Which was almost square. What is it?
Oh, I don't even need to look at it. It's the Allegro.
It is. It's the Austin Allegro.
An amazing ad.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
We need to start paying for stuff. Go on.
This clearly must be some kind of show it's at, because there's another awful Allegro on the other side of it as well.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, the Allegro, the estate wasn't. I didn't mind the estate. I don't think the estate looks too bad.
Yeah,
it looks a little bit like a shooting brake, but the saloon, and it wasn't it styled in Italy or something?
Something like that, like Ital Design or someone like that.
Yeah.
I think they styled it. Yeah, that seems to ring a bell.
Yes. No, even the Van der Pla. No, my mate's dad had.
Yes, well done.
Rolls Royce of a car. No, it's.
5.5 out of 6. Question number 7. This was launched in Europe as the Opel Kadett. What was it known in the UK
So, Lastra.
It is the Vauxhall Astra. Well done. It didn't even need the music for that one. Well done. Question number 8. Originally called the Bobcat. A bit of clue. This has become Britain's best-selling car with over 5 million sold. What is it?
The Ford Fiesta.
Indeed it is, yes.
Yep.
Again, to prove it's the 80s, no passenger mirror on that.
Weird. That's the Mark 1, isn't it? Which
Yes.
I saw one of those in Greece about 10 years ago.
Tell me more, tell me more.
And somebody, yes, Derna. So it was. It was.
Was it
summer,
Sandy? Did Sandy own
It
it?
was summer loving, and it happened so fast. And it was really a blast. Met a girl, crazy for me. Met a guy, sweet as could be. And no, it was in Greece, not the musical, the place.
Yes, okay.
It was Corfu, and somebody had completely rebuilt the side of a car with plastic padding, and it looked like
Fantastic.
waves because it was Greece. They went, "There's nothing wrong with his car. He's fine.
He's
just
good, isn't
we just put a little bit of plastic padding." Literally, he must have been using a cement mixer. The amount of gob he put down one side of this car, and you could see there was rust falling out, but it's fine. Yes. So Mark 1 Fiesta.
There you go. Question number 9. 2 more to go. Question number 9. This is the Ford Escort. This name was named after a rally that it won in South America. What is it called? The special edition.
It's the Mexico, isn't it? The Mexico.
It is the Mexico. It
Thank
is
you,
Mexico.
I did not know that was the reason why it was called the Mexico. I just think it was
Yeah.
Ford usually pulling their. Has anybody been to Cortina? And we'll call it, or Triumph with Dolomite. Where are the Dolomites? I don't know. Let's call a car a Dolomite. My brother used to call it. Dad's got a Triumph Domino.
Brilliant. Yeah, it was named after the Mexico rally, which the Escort had won. Of course, those Escorts were rear-wheel drive as well. Really good.
And really expensive.
Yes. So far, 8.5. You've basically won the thing. Last question. What is this Bedford vehicle called? From Bedford, from Luton, of all places.
Luton's finest. Vauxhall is the brand. I believe that is the Cavalier.
It is the Cavalier. Yes.
Yay.
Well done. In baby blue.
You see, that was my. Yes. This is all the cars I grew up driving.
Hated.
And
Oh,
hated.
really?
Well, because I had them in the 90s and they were all shite by then, weren't they? They were falling to fucking bits because I was broke. And all my mates had old Vauxhalls and bloody Maestros. Ugh.
I knew a girl at university who had one of these, and she could write her name with her foot on the windscreen of this Astra.
That sounds interesting.
Oh, yes, it was.
My mate had a Cadet. He had a Y-Reg Cadet, Opel Cadet, because they did bring him out a couple of as Opel. And he could not kill this. And this was in the late 90s. So the thing was nearly 20 years old. And he was still a big green monster with beige velour interior. And it's like, he came back from the garage. So what's wrong with it now? Nothing. Nothing's wrong with it. It just keeps going. Is that again that brief period for about 10 years before I want to say Renault? No. Peugeot got involved. Or do I mean Renault?
GM. Probably GM it would have been,
Yeah, they made Vauxhalls had a reputation of making terrible cars up to the late 70s. And from the late 70s to the late 90s, they made solid cars. 20 years. Boring. I hate Vauxhalls. I'm not a Vauxhall fan.
Me neither.
I also hate Fords as well, but so that's just another problem I have with. I think it's when you've been betrayed by a car too many times that you come to hate it. Not a fan of Fiats either. Got broken down a lot of time, but I have a soft spot for Citroens because my Citroen only broke down once.
Oh, okay.
As I was about to get on a ferry and drive to Brussels. Break down on the ignition module. Is that it for the show? So what do I win?
It is the Salt and Pepper Grinder, or either that or I misread it, and it's Grinder you're on.
I'm on Grindr now. Excellent. I have my profile good.
That's
Yay. So thank you. Thank you, audience. Yay. I'm on Grindr. What is that?
It's that app thing that you swipe on.
I need to worry about.
No, but the other half may have to.
Oh, really?
Worry. Yes.
You never know. We might leave, we're very modern people. We may leave one of those sort of modern lifestyles. We don't. We're really boring, really. But, So that's about it from us on the show. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're hopefully going to be back next week if we can be bothered to write another episode. Stay safe. Are we telling people to keep the masks on and get booster injections?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, keep your mask on.
Keep your face insulated.
Yeah, get on Grindr. Just make sure you wear a mask. Double vax. Get an injection anyway. You like to have an injection. And we shall be back next time on Car-Boyz. Take it easy. See you soon.